So I'm Larry, and I've had the opportunity to walk with your spouses through HTG for about 4 years now, and I'm just a friend of HTG. I'm an executive coach. You heard from Melissa and Rich, who didn't they just do a great job earlier in the whole personality thing? I was just so proud, and they did a tremendous job with you. I was in the back kind of watching. She's our COO of the Enrichment Center Group. We offer executive coaching and that kind of thing, just walking with leaders. And it's been an honor for us to walk with HTG. What an incredible organization your spouse is a part of. I mean, I need you to know that. I get to work with organizations internationally, and they're absolutely, there is none. There is not one that's any better from an aspect of integrity and leading the right way and authentically caring about people. So you can be proud. You can be proud of your spouse for being a part of this organization. And I'm proud of you for being here today. Thank you for coming and investing in your family and in your spouse and ultimately in the company that he leads. Thank you for that. And we just want to share together. This segment is about us just kind of talking and helping each other. What in the world is it like being married to an entrepreneur? What is it like to be married to somebody that leads a company? And we need to talk about some things. Like, why is it that he just thinks he has to tell me what to do all the time? And why is it that he gets on my last nerve? And what is going through in his mind? I mean, I just need to know there's a lot of value in sharing with one another. We have an expert panel today. We are very fortunate today to have these three incredible ladies that I'm going to introduce. They're going to introduce themselves to you in case you don't know them in just a moment. But can we just stop for a minute? Now, be honest. It's kind of, it's difficult being married to these high-powered entrepreneurs, right? Who are workaholics and who bring their computers home and put their face in the computer all night, every night, right? Am I right? Am I kind of getting that right for you? You try to have a family vacation and he has to go figure out what's going on constantly. Has your family vacation ever been interrupted by phone calls and computer needs? And sure it has. So you know what? I think we just need to kind of, well, you know, I'm an executive coach. I'm also a psychotherapist. I think we need a little therapy. All right? I think we need a little therapy. All right, before we start, so here's what I want you to do. Would you just stand up? Stand up. Put everything out of your hands. Good? Yeah, just stand up. Good. I know our video folks, we're sorry, this may be difficult to capture, but it's important, okay? So here's what I want you to do. Turn to your right when I count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Very good. Now when I count to 3, I'd like you guys turn to that right. Yeah, to your left. Okay. So what I want you to do when I count to 3, would you take your hands and just put them above your head like I have mine? I hadn't counted yet. What are you doing? Okay. I'm just kidding around. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Good. Beautiful. Ladies, would you mind when I count to 3? I'd like for you just to walk across the aisle and make sure you put your hands on the shoulders of the lady in front of you. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's make one complete line across the front. Good. All the way over. Nice. Good job, ladies. Ladies, I need you to know that you really look goofy. You know that? I'm just playing around. You know, married to these entrepreneurs, it's not an easy thing. I mean, you've had to put up with a lot. And you keep them going, and I know you're there to help them, and they're there to help you, and you serve each other, and that's incredible. I know where the strength lies for these men. I understand that. I'm looking at the strength right here. You're the ones that keep them going. And I bet you, if I were to ask, that you don't get a whole lot of recognition for that. I bet there's not a whole lot of affirmation for what you do, and the lack of appreciation for who you are and how you hold up this leader that you live with so that he can hold up that company that you have with him. I bet you don't get a lot of pat on the backs. I bet you don't get a lot of atta girls. Thank you for what you do. So here's what I want you to do. Just when I count to 3, go ahead and give that person a little massage. She deserves it. Trust me, she deserves it. Come on. And just a little, and tell her while you're doing that, just say thank you for what you do for your husband. Yeah, good. Well, okay. Now, good job. Now turn around and do the same thing the other direction for that person. Go ahead and tell them thank you for what you do. Good. Now what I want you to do is, ladies, if you don't mind, turn to at least 3 people and just tell them, hey, I appreciate you, and then have a seat. Just say, I appreciate you, and have a seat. Okay, ladies, that's enough. You're loving on each other too much. Let's go. I'm just playing. Wow, that's good. Sometimes we just need to affirm each other, don't we? You know, just say, hey, thanks. Give each other a little pat on the back. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's important. So let's talk together about being married to an entrepreneur. I want to introduce you to the experts, and I want you to hear from them. So we'll start right here. Pamela, would you introduce yourself to us?
Sure. Pamela Ziogas. I know that we've been together all morning, so I've said this several times. So married 18 years, in the business for 17 years, 3 children. So busy life, but it's a happy life. Chicago.
Hi, I'm Robyn Schow. My husband is Brad. He was a business owner in Duluth, Minnesota for the past 22 years we've been there. And just last week, we moved to Harlan, Iowa. And we are starting a new adventure. We have 3 children and 2 grandchildren with another one on the way.
Wow.
I'm Nancy Sorensen. I don't always have much voice, so I hope you can hear me. I'm married to Arlen. He's the poster child for the lion. My daughter Lori's in the back. She's just home from China. And we have a son who's just a little older than Lori, and 4 grandchildren. So we're from Harlan, Iowa, and Arlen's been in business since '85.
Right. And Brad is working with Arlen.
Yes.
So your husbands are working together now. Okay. So let's take a moment, and I need your help. This is about us. We're just going to have a conversation, and because there's a lot of wisdom in this room, a lot of experience. And we need to draw from that. We need to learn from that from each other. So would you just think through and help us think about if living with this leader, living with this entrepreneur, what would you say, what are some of the greatest challenges that you can think of? And maybe one pops in. I'm not asking you for the greatest. Maybe there's 2 or 3. Maybe it's like, Larry, you don't have a clue. But try to think and help us. And they're going to kind of talk about a challenge that they have living with a leader, and then I'm going to ask you to share a challenge that you have living with the leader that you live with. So, Robyn, you have the mic. You want to tell us about a challenge that you have?
The biggest challenge I have with my husband is that, well, we're opposite personalities, and he has a hard time unplugging. So I had to create some unique ways to get him away from his technology. I created tech-free Sundays. There was no technology allowed on Sundays. It was our day of rest, a time to talk face-to-face and actually interact with the kids and stuff. And then no phones, cell phones at the dinner table. Just little things like that I have to keep reminding him, and he's working on them. But he's usually, another big one, no laptops in bed. And we have a rule now, if there's a computer in bed, the dogs are in bed. So the dogs are in bed more than not lately, but he tries, so he's doing a good job.
And help us to know, your personality is based on the test.
This is fun. I'm a lion monkey, and my husband is a camel turtle, which I think he's pretty much all turtle. But apparently he's got some other qualities at work. So.
Great. Thank you. Pamela, you want to share a challenge?
Sure. I think one of the biggest challenges is that the business, there's so many times in the past 18 years where, he's missed things that have been important. I mean, not like the kids' birthdays or things like that, but, there were soccer games that he's missed, and, the way he describes it is the business just wouldn't let me leave. And he says, it's not that I didn't value wanting to be there for you and the kids, it's just something came up in the business just wouldn't let me leave. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges, because I remember the kids being really little. I just had the girls at the time, and they were probably 3 and 5. And I said to them, it was probably 7, 8 o'clock at night, and I said, go talk to your dad. And they picked up the phone, and I go, no, he's actually here.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, Daddy's here? So yeah, so there was a lot of that at the beginning, and it was rough, because he looks back now and he's like, wow, they're 16 and 14, and he's like, I feel like I missed so much at the beginning when they were growing up, and so that's sort of tough. So we're all trying to, and I'm like, well, the good news is that they're not going anywhere, and we've got plenty of time and a lot of time to make more memories, so you know, we can always spend a lot of time. So my goal for him is to spend less time working, and actually every Friday he works from home or out of it. I said to him, you can work Monday through Thursday, but you have to take Fridays off, and you can go to your favorite cigar lounge, you can go play golf, you can go to Starbucks, you can even do a little bit of work, but you need to decompress.
Wow.
So, and
Great.
my goal eventually for him is to have 12 weeks off
12 weeks off.
in
Wow.
the year.
What
So
a-
we're going to start out with 4, and then 8, and then 12. Because we didn't have our first vacation until 2004, and we started the business in 1994. So
wow.
it was like 10 years.
10 years without a vacation.
I mean, we took
Wow.
many, little weekend things here, but our first real
Wow.
vacation. So now we take, at least like 2 family vacations a year. So we're really trying to make that a priority.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Nancy, a
I got
challenge.
my first vacation, well, our honeymoon, 10 years after we were married.
So 10 years after you were married, your honeymoon. Honeymoon, 10 years later. Wow.
I guess mine goes along with what they said. It's quality time, I think, was the hardest thing we had, was finding time for quality time. And have you all experienced the thing where you're talking to your husband and he's looking at a screen and you wonder, am I getting through? Well, I have a picture to share with you. My daughter was 4 or 5 years old, and she's at her father's elbow trying to tell him something or ask him something, and he's looking at his screen, and she reached up with both hands, one on each cheek, and just went like this. And we still do that sometimes, and it, that just got him right then. It was like, oh, yeah, she's more important. I need to pay attention. So, that you can ask them and talk to them, and just remind them lovingly, because they don't mean to ignore you and they don't mean to space you off. And you got to realize that. Give them some credit and just, lovingly encourage them.
Good word of wisdom. Challenges, and we're going to come back and talk more about what we can do to lovingly encourage them. We're going to talk about that and share some insight and wisdom that you have with that. But let's talk a bit about challenges that you have faced with your husband. You've heard from our panel. What have you experienced? What challenges have you experienced with your husband? Yes.
For us, one of the solutions for the vacation thing has been going on cruises. That's the only time my husband gets away from the phones, the computers, the whatever, and he actually will admit it. He'll say it's the only time I can actually turn them off.
Really?
completely.
How about that?
So we do that every couple of years.
Yeah, because you can't get service on cruise lines generally, right? Yeah.
I've
Good.
been married 18 years. He's had the business 25 years. Our first vacation was back in July, and we went on a cruise to Alaska. Best ever, because he couldn't talk.
Yeah.
And he went crazy the first 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
I mean, he was checking the signal, and it was just like,
Yeah.
it in there.
So let's go back, Robyn. How many years
We've been married 18.
before you had a vacation?
Uh-huh.
18 years.
And wasn't
We
it the
actually-
HTG group that we really
The
helped to
HTG group
encourage
is the
them
one
to
that
do it?
forced him to do it.
Wow. So the HTG encouraged them.
They came down on him hard.
Yeah.
When he first started, yeah, and they forced him into doing it.
Anybody else have that same experience? The HTG group really helped him to, yeah. I'm just curious. Let's see if we can find out how many years it's been since you've gone on. How many people here have gone in the past since your husband has worked? We went 5 years without a vacation. Anybody? 5 years? Anybody raise your hand if it's 5 years or over. Let's do that. Raise your hand. Just 1, 2. Okay. All right. Now, anybody here that do you 4 years? Have you gone on vacation? 4 years every year? We go every year on vacation.
Some sort of one.
Good. Help us. How do you do that? How do you encourage him to get away and go on that vacation?
I'm thinking B12.
I'm really good about becoming. Sometimes what I do is I look for when he's calm at work,
Right.
and I just schedule something. I'm not kidding. And we go, and that's just it. And if I'm lucky, we don't have cell phone signal. Sometimes there is. And, you know, he has gotten much better due to HTG about not picking up that phone. But I look for when he's calm at work, and then we go somewhere.
Okay.
I don't ask him too much ahead of time because there'll be a project or something coming up. So I just do that.
Okay. Who else? Who can help us? How do you schedule your vacation? Yes.
My husband sort of helped himself in this respect. We ended up not really getting suckered into, but we ended up joining a vacation club sort of timeshare sort of thing. And for him, that was like a business negotiation. But the good thing, and at the time I was sort of horrified, but the good thing has been that he sees that as an asset that we have to use. It's a 10-year thing. And if we don't use it, we're losing money. And so he's sort of financially and business motivated to make sure we get a vacation and use those weeks.
Wow. That's great. Yeah. It's a great call. Good. Anybody else schedule a vacation? You're in charge of scheduling the vacation for your home? Anybody? Yeah. Talk to us about that. How do tell us what you do to make that happen?
Well, my husband and I are lucky. I think we started the V12 part with HTG, and we're fortunate enough where we have some key employees that really can help run the business, and they do really well when we're not around.
Ah.
So a lot of times good sales and things happen, and they almost encourage us to be gone. But I like to schedule vacations places where we can try to be out of touch. So we do a lot of backcountry flying in Idaho, and there's, you know, you can totally unplug. And at first it was really tough for him to do that, and now he really appreciates getting away from it, and I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Although we're becoming more connected in the world, so it doesn't matter where we travel. We were in Peru on a trek, and each mountain lodge had wireless. So I was like, no, get off there. What are you doing? So
Yeah.
it's just amazing. But that's my biggest challenge with my husband is unplugging. We're both lions,
Right.
lion camels. And so a lot of times when we are at lunch or something, he'll pick up his phone, and I hate that. And so I tend to pick up my phone, and I'll do work or things too. But that's one of my biggest pet peeves and challenges is to try to get him away from the computer or the cell phone.
Yeah, that's a big challenge. How many of you heard about this unplugging and head in the screen and face with moving the cheeks? How many of you would say probably my biggest challenge with my husband is to get him unplugged and get him away from the computer? Raise your hand. Yeah. So when he does that, let's just share a minute together. When that happens, when he's in the screen and you want to have a conversation, what does that do to you? How does that make you feel when that happens? You want to have a conversation, he's in the screen. How does that make you feel? Yes?
Tell me, makes me feel like I'm his employee, not his wife.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
How does he react to that?
He doesn't quite get it. It's really hard to make him understand that, you know, I'm not one of his employees. I really need to talk, you know, when I call him at work, he'll see that it's me and just click it off because he knows he can talk to me later. 2 weeks ago I was calling and I called him 3 times in a row to let him know I was taking his mother to the hospital. And I finally left a voicemail. I said, I didn't want to leave this on a voicemail. I said, but I'm taking your mom to the hospital. I will see you there when you get this message. It was very frustrating.
How did he react after he found out?
He felt bad, but you know, I told him, I said, we need to have some sort of a signal, something to let you know that this is important. This is not me calling to tell you I need bread at the grocery store. You
Wow.
know, it is very frustrating.
Sure. Who else will share that? How does it make you feel? Let's. This side of the room is really doing a lot better than this side. Just playing. I'm just kidding. Let's go over here. Help us right here. How does that make you feel when your husband is in that screen and you want to have a conversation with him? What does that look like?
Makes you feel like you're being multitasked.
Say it again.
Like you're being multitasked.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You're just one of many tasks that he's.
Yep.
Yeah. How about it up right here? How does it make you feel?
Just makes me feel less important.
Yeah. Yeah. And she said it makes her feel less important. And that, you know, that is so true. Multitask, less important, ignored. And we know, as an entrepreneur, I can tell you that's not their heart. That's not their heart. It's their behavior, but it's not their heart, right? But it doesn't change how it makes you feel, does it? No. So panel, we need a little help here because we've identified, I think, the greatest challenge, and that is, hello, we're married to IT guys, and the biggest challenge is, and you called it getting unplugged, I think, getting disconnected. How do we do that? Let's have a conversation around, help us, give us some tips. We need some practical thoughts, Pamela, on how do we deal with this feeling like I've been ignored when it's important, or I've been multitasked, or I feel less important, not important because you choose your computer and your employees over our home.
So one of the things I do is I surround him around the kids, because I know that once he's around the kids, he forgets everything and he doesn't even want to go back to his email or anything. And he says, gosh, it's almost like the kids can sense when I'm frustrated or stressed, because out of the blue, the little guy will just come up to him and just hug him. And he's like, it's almost like he can sense like I needed that. So I'll say to the kids, go say hi to your dad. Go in the office and get him away from the computer. So they'll all three be around him, and then they'll kind of bring him away. And my son's done the face thing. All three of them have done the face thing before. Dad, we need you. We're talking to you. So I use the kids.
Being a lion, I guess I just tell my husband what I think, and he never has to guess. And gosh, I don't know. I'm gonna let Nancy answer because she's much nicer than I am. And I know her husband gave me a book probably 2 years ago, and it was called How to Have a New Husband by Friday. And he was laughing, of course. So I started to read it, and it was how I was supposed to change myself. And by doing that, then my husband's actions and reactions would change as well. And so
But you're a lion, you can't do that.
Right, so I didn't actually read that book, but I got the basic idea. And I know that just by the way I react to him, the way, if I'm quiet and he has a chance to talk, if I am encouraging to him, and if I'm supportive to him, and if I show him respect, I think those are key things that make him open up to me, and he doesn't find his technology as interesting if I make myself more interesting.
Wise words from the lion.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wisdom. Nancy?
Well, I've got one, excuse me, one way that I'm not sure I recommend, but a friend did this. Leif Wildenberg's wife did this to him. They were going on a vacation, and it wasn't work related. How many of you is your vacation actually tacked on to a business trip? Yeah.
I got
That's
married
okay.
at Comdex.
Oh my gosh.
You know, I
She
really
said
don't.
she got married at Comdex. That's where she was married. Congratulations.
But it's lasted, so you can't complain.
And I really don't mind having a vacation tacked on to the business trip as long as he lets that business part go and then can relax a while. But Leif's wife took, they were packed and ready to leave, I think for an island somewhere. And he had his laptop packed and his cell phone, you know, in his pocket and stuff. And before he put the stuff in the car, she took his laptop out. And she took his cell phone out and left it at home.
Wow, that was brazen.
And he said he didn't look for him on the trip until they got there, and they weren't there. He said, I was mad for about an hour, but I sure enjoyed the vacation more.
Wow.
So I'm not sure I recommend that. It's kind of a fun story. It's kind of a fun story, and it's fun to hear Leif tell about it. Trying to think.
What was the original
As
question?
as they're thinking, keep thinking, we'll come right back to you in a moment. Help us. What are some things that you can recommend for each other that you can do to help communicate effectively to your husband that you may not mean to ignore me, you may not mean to multitask, you may not mean to make me feel less important, but you are. What are some things that you've done or you can think of to share with each other? Let's learn together through this. Yes?
Robert and I decided a long time ago that the only way that I could get his attention sometimes is literally if you hit him in the head, and it's like, well, duh. Well, as opposed to violence in our home, which we don't recommend, we came up with a code word.
A code word?
Yes.
Okay.
And thank you. And when I have absolutely run my limit on computers and servers and HTG and ConnectWise and all those words, I'll just go up to his office, won't make a big deal about it. I'll make sure he makes eye contact with me. That's another thing. You got to make eye contact, kids. You really do. I'll say this code word, and I may have to say it twice, but he gets it.
Wow.
He gets it. And something else that we did, now we did this with our daughter and her husband. Her husband's a computer guy too. So you can imagine Robert and Luke together, and and all this, stuff in your eyes roll in the back of your head when you listen to it. So once every 3 months, we have a non-technology weekend. It's technology free. Now, they can't talk about their computers, and Melissa and I can't talk about scrapbooking or sewing or anything like that. And it's kind of interesting. It's really kind of interesting.
Wow.
But those two things have worked for us.
Great idea. So, code word and then a non-technology weekend. Great ideas. Great ideas. What else? What else can you tell us? Help us. How do we connect? Yes. Let's see. Yes.
Well, my husband, and maybe yours too, he can only focus on one thing at a time, whether it's watching TV or reading or on the computer. And he realizes that about himself. And so I don't know if it was his group or something else, but he has a thing now. He says, get my attention if you want to talk to me. Because, I'm used to the kids talking to me and everything else, but I can have a whole conversation and realize he hasn't heard a word I said. So he said, get my attention, whether it's by touch, which is the best one for him. And he has agreed. He just turns off, he just mutes the TV or will puts the computer down and listens. And then, when I stop, it's like, well, are you done? Because sometimes I'll think of something else right after that, but that's our agreement, is that he, get his attention by touch or make sure we make eye contact and that he stopped what he's doing so that we can. So
you can have a communication. So it's refocusing him, and you do it by touch.
By touch, or if I say his name, make sure he responds.
He's looking at you.
That he has kind of put aside whatever it is he's doing, so that we can talk.
And ladies, she is exactly right. Men think in compartments. So when you're communicating with them, and you want to have a conversation with them, they've got to close that compartment and open another one. And sometimes it takes a minute for us to do that. We have to close this. You're like a ball of yarn, and it's just all connected together, and you can have a conversation and be on the phone and take care of the children and then cook and go do your job. And then, I don't know how you do that. It's all connected with you. So just remember that. We're not talented like that. We have to think in compartments. And those trigger words, code words, or triggers or touch, that's incredibly powerful. What wisdom. And I think the fact that you are willing to do that sends a strong message of you leading the leader. You're leading your husband, because the truth is nothing's more important than you and your children to him. But you need to understand that. You have to lead him to close that compartment sometimes so that he can prioritize appropriately and give you the respect, quite frankly, that you deserve.
Larry?
Yes.
Some of these things being shared, I don't know how many of you have even thought of talking about this kind of thing and saying, let's get a code word. We went for years just kind of expecting each other to understand things, but we never talked about it. And sometimes you just have to sit down and talk. I know Arlen does not want to, ignore me. He does not want to put business before our relationship, but it happens. And, when we finally took time to talk about it, and I let him know that it hurt and it was important, then he started working toward it. And if it's as simple as having a code word that he'll pay attention to, man, that's easy. And these guys talk about it in their groups, and when they get their scores and their wife has said, you ignore me, or you don't spend enough time, they take that seriously. So, when you go over those with them, talk about it together, and just, don't expect things of each other. Just take time to talk them over. Could be just as simple as that code word. And it solves a big problem.
What wisdom? Pamela?
So one of the things I was talking about during my presentation is about becoming experts in communication. So one of the things I do with Alex is, when you do this, it makes me feel like this. That way I'm being very direct with him, and I'm explaining to him exactly, like, when he checks his email and he's not spending time with us, or when he comes home from work and it's 7:30 at night and he goes into his home office, I'm like, nothing has changed in 45 minutes. When you do that, it makes me, or it makes the kids feel like this. So I think sort of phrasing it in a very direct way and letting them know exactly how you feel, I think, has a lot of impact, because like he has said, it's like he doesn't mean to, but it's like the business draws him in.
Most of your husbands are task driven. What that means is that they're validated by completing the task, or by completing the task with excellence, and how they complete the task. Either way, they are task driven. So that means that they constantly look at going from one task to another to another. So this wisdom that they've given us to sit down with them and have a conversation that says, when you do this, it makes me feel, is really helping frame that in a way that they can understand it. You're kind of putting it in a task for them, and that's why HTG resonates with them, because they have a task list that they're held accountable for. So you can say, well, isn't that just making me a task? No, it's allowing the relationship to be framed in a way that he can share his heart with you. And his heart is that he loves you and cares for you, but we sometimes have to have a task, have a code word, have a touch, so that he can express himself to you. Yes?
I don't have an entrepreneur husband, but I'm the daughter of the poster lion, so I grew up with an entrepreneur father. And one thing that I've noticed that helps with Dad is realizing that task mentality and going to him and saying, Dad, is this a good time for me to talk to you? And if he says no, saying, could you tell me when it is a good time? And then he'll give me a time, and then I leave. I don't stand there, because if I'm around him, he gets flustered and nervous and feels like he's ignoring me. And another thing is, when I email him or when I talk to him, I'll say, Dad, I have 3 things I need to talk to you about. I think it'll take about 10 minutes. Can you tell me when would be a good time? And it might feel like you're scheduling it, but I found that it really helps our relationship, because what he is terrified of is just an unending chat session with me when his mind is going, I have a million things I need to get done. So if I need that kind of chat session, I found that going on a walk with him works really well, because we'll walk together and he'll just listen and I'll just talk, and he's fine with that. And he knows he only has to go, every once in a while, and we're good. But when he's in the middle of a work day, if I, do those things, it's helped our relationship a lot.
Good wisdom. Thank you for that. Great wisdom. Well, our time is almost up, but I want you to do something for me, okay? Because in HTG, we don't just come and visit and talk. We have assignments. We have homework to do. So I want you to take the pen and pencil in front of you. And by the way, I was with your husbands a few minutes ago, and I gave them a homework assignment. None of them had pens and paper, but they all had laptops. So none of you have a laptop, but you have pen and paper. Yeah, it's all good. So what I want you to do right now, just take a moment, and I'd like for you to just to finish this statement and write it down, and then be willing to just ready to share it with us, to encourage us. You know, Larry, what I'm going to commit to do, based listening to this today in this session, my takeaway, what I'm going to commit to do when I leave here, to help the communication with my husband, to help connect with my husband, what I'm willing to do is, you have to figure that out. Write that down. What I'm willing to do, this is a commitment that I'm willing to make. This is my takeaway. I'm going to So you guys, what we'll do is give just a moment. You'll give us a last thought, and then we'll hear. We're going to hear from our panel as you're writing, and we're going to ask them to give us a last thought about living with an entrepreneur, my spouse, the entrepreneur. And then we're going to ask you to share before we leave. Just share with us what you're going to do. Some of you be willing to, if you'd be willing to do that, that would be wonderful. All right, Pamela, my thought.
So my advice would be, and something that's been really powerful for us, especially in the last 3 to 5 years, is the communication part. I think it's really important to understand the modality, the auditory, visual, kinesthetic, and really kind of understand their personality profile and really sort of structure the communication around that so that you're speaking to him and to his personality and in a way that they're best going to filter the information. So, and I just think when you have the communication right and those core values are in alignment with the respect and all that kind of stuff, I just think that it makes for such a happier home life, which always translates into a happier business life.
Thank you.
I would just want to encourage you to have fun with your husband. Take time out and make special memories. And I'm going from a full house to an empty nest. And so my husband and I are going to be alone together, and I'm so excited because
It's the best ever.
I think we're going to have a really good time in the little town of Harlan, Iowa. And I'm really looking forward to it. But take time to laugh and just stare at each other in the face, go for walks, hold hands, and just love each other. And let them have that downtime away from their work and their stress and their jobs, and make sure that you give them that time where they can just unwind and feel comfortable with you without demands from you at home or demands from the kids. Just try to create a peaceful atmosphere for them. I think that really helps. And my husband, as a turtle, he needs that, some quiet time, and so I allow him that. And he does take a vacation every year by himself. And up in Alaska fishing, and he can't use any technology up there. And that really energizes him to have that. So find out what your husband's needs are and what energizes him and helps him, and then make sure that he gets that. Even if it's not every day, but every week or as often as you can.
Beautiful. Thank you. Nancy?
Well, this personality thing, finding out what each other's personality type is, has been so much fun for us, and it's an ongoing joke, and we recognize things with each other, but it's such a good tool, and I just recommend, like she said, just learn more about your husband and what is important to him, how he ticks. And if you're totally opposite like I am, I'm a turtle camel, sometimes a camel turtle, but way away from that lion. Take time to let him know when you need something. Just be honest with him, because he cares. And you may be so busy that he doesn't notice it himself, but be honest and say, this is important. I need to share this with you. My joke now is, I'm going to buy a condo. I'm not going to tell you where it is. That's a turtle speaking.
You need that turtle time. I love that. Wonderful. Okay, help us before we leave. What are you willing to do? What are you willing to say? You know what? When I leave here, this is what I'm going to do. Who will start us? Thank you.
I'll start.
Okay, good. Pass that right over.
What I've discovered over the years is my husband is so driven, and everybody in here's husband's in the same boat because they're all entrepreneurs. I think the most important thing is for you to value what they're doing while they're working and support that, But at some point, say, let's develop a hobby together that has absolutely nothing to do with work. When I walk out of here, I'm going to find us something to do. We've just bought our condo. for
Actually,
vacation
you
home.
bought it.
I went and bought it. He's never seen it. We're going there the end of the month. He's going to see it for the first time. But find something to do there away from work as a hobby.
Wow, great wisdom. Thank you. Okay, share with us what you're going to do.
Well, my husband and I, we work in the business together. We spend 24/7 together. We love being together. And like I was saying before, we're both lion camels, and it just works out. We're almost identical on our DISC assessments. So for us, it works out, and we do have hobbies together. And every day we go to lunch together at the business, and
great.
We're able to communicate with each other pretty well. And he's pretty good at, I mean, sometimes when he's plugged in, if he's working on something, a particular task, Lion,
Yeah.
it's hard to pull him away. But once you get him focused and get him away from that, he does a good job. So I guess for me, just realizing when he's in the middle of a task, not to interrupt him, and just to get his attention so that I can get him unplugged.
Beautiful.
And then he's fine.
Thank you. So you took a cue from our daughter back there. Find
Absolutely.
the right time. Great. Let's hear from this. I've just got to hear from this side of the room, okay? Who would share with us one thing you're going to do?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, good.
Real simple, just talk to him about what a code word trigger might be.
Beautiful.
His attention.
Code word. And you're shaking your head. Same. Do you have a different
Yeah,
one?
but I'm going to use what Arlen's daughter said too. I'm going to try to, you know, if I need to talk to them about something, I'm just going to try to schedule it.
Awesome.
It's good.
Awesome.
And send Outlook invites.
Oh, great tip. Did you hear that? Send Outlook invites.
Outlook invite.
Great tip. That's good. Good.
And if it's in the schedule and something else comes up, that trumps that, so.
I like it. Anybody else want to share before we leave? Hey, listen, thank you. You need to hear this. You are the glue. You are the reason that your leader can do what he does, and I mean that. So thank you for who you are. I understand how valuable you are, and on behalf of your husbands, let me say to you, man, we appreciate you. We need you. Thank you for being here. Would you give our panel a big hand, a big round of applause? Tell them thank you. Thank you, guys. Incredible job. Listen, go out of here, do your homework assignments, and go make a difference in the lives of your husband and your families, okay? Thanks, guys. We're finished. Thank you.
Brought to you by the fine folks at Varvid, video and digital media for business. Contact us at info@varvid.com or online at varvid.com.